¿Qué onda, gente? ¿Cómo están? Para los que no me conocen, yo me llamo Sebastián y estamos en un nuevo video. Bueno, gente, hoy vamos a estar jugando a un jueguito que está muy bueno. Bueno, nada, no pude ver mucho, digamos, de qué se trata. Sé que es sobre una familia que terminó desapareciendo, quedó una sobreviviente y a partir de esa sobreviviente empezamos a reconstruir la historia de toda la familia. Es como una maldición que le cayó a la familia o algo así. Bueno, si se preguntan por qué carajo estoy así con esta luz, que es tipo como contando historias de terror, bueno, nada, es porque no quiero prender la luz porque Blanquito está durmiendo y bueno, no lo quiero molestar, así que vamos a jugar así, guacho. Y bueno, literal hace banda no grababa, no hacía nada y extrañaba mucho, así que este va a ser un nuevo comienzo en el canal con gameplays. Ya los directos los dejo para Twitch, como ya saben. Y bueno, nada, vamos al gameplay que es lo más importante. Bueno, empezamos en un barco. Los gráficos están muy buenos, la verdad. A ver... Bueno, tenemos unas florcitas, unas flores y un libro.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Opa, empezamos la historia, guacho. Fua, está muy piola los gráficos. Bueno, estamos en un caminito que está en medio de un bosque, parece. Ahora voy a ver si puedo... A ver qué onda los gráficos. Ahí está. Guau. Todo en ultra, guacho. Ok, vamos cambiando. La verdad que
I lived
gráficamente
here
está
until
muy
I was
piola.
11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Ok. Wow, a ver esto.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Wow. O sea que esto estuvo
I hadn't
abandonado
been
mucho
back since
tiempo.
my brother Lewis's funeral.
No había regresado desde el funeral de mi hermano Lewis. Ok. Gráficamente es
In
muy
the
rico
will,
este juego.
my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
Ok.
Maybe she thought I'd know, or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Gente, literalmente me tengo que comprar unas luces RGB o algo. Porque no puedo estar así con el...
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it.
Ok.
But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Bueno, tenemos que volver a la casa para encontrar
The woods around the house
respuestas.
have always been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something but never do.
Bueno, como decía, me tengo que comprar unas RGB porque no puedo estar con el flash del celular. Literalmente estoy con el flash del celular, gente. Así que, nada. Si me donan para unas luces... Nada que ver, guacho. No, mentira, no quiero nada. Solo quiero hacer videitos
The
y
house
que
was
nos
exactly like
divirtamos.
I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Fua. La casa está hecha poronga.
As a
Gente,
child,
what the
the
fuck, what the
house
fuck.
made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
Bueno, la casa le hacía sentir incómoda. No sabe por qué. Este es el hermano desaparecido. Lo que sigamos por acá, por las escaleritas con Mo. O Mujua, como sea. Fue hasta todo tirado. Y claro, pasó una banda de tiempo.
Now, as a 17-year-old,
Ahora
I
no
knew
sé-
exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
Mierda. A ver si podemos abrir.
I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't.
No se pudo.
Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
Ok. Bueno, por acá no podemos entrar. Bueno, hay composta para las plantitas. Oh, alto garage. Alto garage. Fua, cómo suena el cosito ese. Está repiola. A ver. Nah. Épico.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Fua, dos bici, que piletita. Sí, esto es el garage. A ver si podemos prender la luz.
The power had been turned off the night we left.
No.
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home.
Literalmente está como dejada en pausa la casa. Alto microondas, boludo. Y la alacena,
But
la
instead of a family,
heladerita.
there were just memories of one.
Fua.
Like how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
Fue comida, mucha comida china. Se nota. A ver.
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
¿Qué hay acá?
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
En la biblioteca. Con razón se murieron todos, boludo.
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Sí. ¿Cómo vas a aceptar la muerte de un hijo? Man.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
A verga.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
No me jodas. Que dormía con el hermano muerto. Boludo, con razón le pasaban cosas turbias a esta familia. A ver.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of. The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Ok. A ver, sigamos por acá. Buah. La colección de bichotes. Yo siempre quise ese bichote.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
Bárbara. La habitación de Bárbara. A ver.
Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
Ok. A ver qué podemos hacer acá.
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
Alto sillón, amigo. Tiene una pinta de que es re cómodo. A ver esto.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
Está re piola, boludo.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him. Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
A ver.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan, but I had no idea what was behind that door.
Entramos a la pieza. Hemos entrado a la
Just
habitación,
like I
tío.
had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
Ok.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
La habitación de Molly.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up
¿Qué
and I
mamá
was
hace eso,
starving,
boludo? De
so I
mandarte
looked around for something
a
to
dormir sin
eat.
cenar. What the fuck, amigo? Ok.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
No. Y encima tiene caquita de la ratita y todo, boludo.
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
Nah. A ver.
I kept eating and eating.
No, los amantes de la menta granizada. Ndeaah, re que me encanta la menta granizada y el que no le guste que me... Ya saben, guacho.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Mierda, y eso de plástico, boludo, ¿qué mierda hacía comiendo eso? A ver...
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly,
What the...
I was a cat.
Boludo, era una nena y ahora soy un gato. Esto se puso épico.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
Te voy a atrapar, pajarito. Te voy a comer. Y ahora... supongo que por ahí... Ok... Esto está muy flashero, literalmente recién empiezo y me parece muy flashero esto.
I jumped and I almost got her.
Mierda, no puedo alcanzar al pajarito de mierda, boludo.
I could tell she was getting really tired.
Y ahora... A ver... No, parece que por acá no hay que ir. Vamos por acá. Subimos acá. Subimos ahí. ¿Dónde está el pajarito? Pajarito.
Now I was up in the big tree.
Mierda,
I
¿y cómo hago?
promised Dad I wouldn't climb anymore.
Ahí.
All I cared about was eating that mama
Ahí
bear.
está.
I gobbled her up,
Mierda, me suicidé.
and suddenly I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then
What
I
the
heard
fuck,
little
amigo.
teeth nibbling in the grass.
A ver, ¿qué tengo que hacer acá? Esto es muy...
Rabbits.
Ah, rabbits. Tómale, conejo.
I imagined his face looking
No,
up
mi
and seeing
mano.
mine through my
No
hands.
mames.
I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit.
Qué rico.
Then I flew off to find something bigger.
Como conejitos inocentes. Oh, what the fuck.
I'm a rabbit.
Oh, I'm a rabbit. Coneguito, ven para acá.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating.
Fua, me estoy atragantando, guacho, porque no,
And suddenly,
voy
I
a
was a
morir.
shark.
Y de la nada, así como si nada, me convertí en un tiburón. Épico. Uy.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean.
Fua.
Now, I was hungrier than ever.
Ojo. ¿Qué es eso? Usted digo.
I wanted fat, juicy seeds. I tore
Verga.
off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
¿Por qué hice eso? Fue esta nena. Tiene un hambre, boludo. Pobre coso, boludo. Te voy a atrapar, cabrón. Te voy a atrapar, güey.
Grabbed on tight.
Oh, labios,
I
lejos.
was so hungry, I jumped out of the water.
Ojo.
When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
¿Qué mierda soy?
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
Che, soy una anaconda. Qué chota soy, boludo. Esto está muy épico.
I was big, and I moved
Ojo.
real quiet.
A la verga. Me lo mandé como si nada, boludo. Ojo.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Quería parar, pero al mismo tiempo lo quería. O sea, la nena... Guau, se comió a todo el mundo más o menos. Fuck. La nena tenía un apetito voraz, pero que no te das una idea. Voy a comer al capitán.
After the last passenger, I was
What
still
the
hungry.
fuck, amigo.
And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
Ok.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Opa, sentí el olor a caca y me gustó y estoy yendo por una tubería, guacho. Oh. Oh, mirá por dónde salí, boludo. Épico.
I got closer and closer.
No me jodas que me voy a comer un bebé. Me voy a comer un bebé, en serio. No. A
All
ver.
my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time.
De la nada volví a la normalidad.
Anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
Ojo. O sea, el monstruo se va a comer a la nena. A la verga. Ok. Volví a ser la chica de 17 años.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Ok. ¿Qué hay que hacer acá?
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom.
¿Dónde estoy?
Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan.
Wow.
On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea.
¿Qué carajo? ¿Que tenía su casa en un barco?
Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery.
Wow.
His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Bueno, una familia famosa por su fortuna y su desgracia. Épico.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Está bueno esto. A medida de que voy encontrando cositos, voy reconstruyendo la historia familiar. Ok. Acá no hay nada que hacer. A ver, acá.
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
Fua.
Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
Ok.
One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity.
Una
I
peli.
hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time.
Esto.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Ok. A ver si puedo salir.
Even in her 90s. Sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Mira dónde estoy.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom.
Fue baño rosa, boludo. Siento retrolo. ndeaah. Recancelado.
It was a pretty big trace.
Otro diario. A ver.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's
Ojo.
in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
What the fuck. Me metí a un cuarto secreto. Acá el viejo revelaba fotos.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Fua, épico. A ver qué. No, estoy en la casa, nada que ver, en el cuarto de los hermanos. Alto miedo, boludo.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
No, épico. Me puedo amacar.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Ay, guacho, me estoy mareando, boludo.
Sam, Calvin, dinner's ready.
Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it.
Ojo, parece que tengo que subir ahí, ¿no?
I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Fuá.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Boludo, está yendo muy alto, literal.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Boludo, me estaba mareando una banda.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Ok.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Uy, acá qué onda. Ok, acá no se puede hacer nada. A ver si puedo abrir la puerta. No. What the fuck. Jodeme que es otro coso secreto. No. Está épico.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Estoy en la biblioteca.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house.
No, mira, del otro lado está la habitación de Bárbara. Ok. A ver acá. Ah, no, acá ya fui. Creo que tengo que volver. Sí. Acá está. La habitación de Bárbara.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
No, mirá. La tortita de cumpleaños, boludo.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
A ver esto.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch.
Chan, chan, chan.
As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
A la mierda.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
¿Qué carajo?
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So
No.
Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay,
No.
I'm hearing
Le
frustration,
cagaron todo.
but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
A la mierda.
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue.
No me
She reached for
jodas.
the music box.
Y lo mataron.
And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Guacho, hasta la historieta es interactiva. Está muy piola.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
Mierda. No, guacho, mirá.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Como acá se cortó el papá. Ojo. ¿Qué hay acá? Mancuernas. Ok, tengo que ir por ahí.
The old fridge
The
rattled
fuck, man.
and grew still.
Oh dear!
Concha de tu hermana, idiota. Era el novio. Y le rompimos la nariz. Vamos. Por tarado, amigo.
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Qué hijo de
I'm
puta.
not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
Nah, bueno,
She
alto
threw
tarado el
him
chabón.
out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show.
Ok.
Hours later,
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah!
¿Qué carajo?
Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Bueno, supongo que tengo que ir por acá. concha de tu hermana.
Walter, are you there? Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
No. No, ¿por
I
qué?
returned, saw the hookman, and was speechless. He was quite smashing.
No, no, no.
And he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara. There's gotta be another way out of here.
¿Qué puedo hacer? Me voy por acá.
That night, she played her part beautifully.
Amigo, este jueguito está muy bueno. A ver si me puedo ir por acá.
But just couldn't do it.
Jodeme. Voy a tener que volver. A ver. ¿Hay algo por acá?
Wally's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges
Me joda, está ahí, boludo. Toma, morite. ¿Te imaginas que era el papá?
But she sensed the story might
Bueno, vamos a bajar a ver qué onda. Pero para mí era alguien de la familia. What the fuck, ¿dónde está?
had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was
Concha.
at the door. She heard whispering.
Abra, boluda.
It was coming from inside the house.
No, el hombre.
Oh dear.
Habían dos. No, boludo.
The monsters had come to surprise
¿Lo hizo mierda el amigo o no era un amigo? Era posta del chabón que era asesino.
Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her
¿Qué
life.
carajo?
I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear.
No, what the fuck?
Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
¿Qué carajo de historia, boludo?
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Bueno, creo que no hay más nada para ver acá. A ver. Barbara Street. Parece que tengo que volver.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
Sí, literal el texto creo que me guía. Acá no hay nada. A ver si puedo abrir. No, no pasa nada. ¿A mí me oye ese ruido?
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
Tengo que buscar la llave del sótano. No, pero ahí estoy saliendo. A ver...
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
Nada. Por acá tampoco. Fua, alta casa, boludo.
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Wow.
I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement.
Encontré la llave. Estamos en el sótano, chicos. Cosa de limpieza, todo normal. ¿Te imaginas que acá había un cadáver en el coso? Returbina. Returbina, guacho. A ver.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
Ok.
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages. I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Era en la puerta. Bueno, ahí está. Qué bueno
I
que se
remember
prendió la luz,
asking
si
Mom
no.
once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories,
¿Se imaginan que encontramos
I
a
think
un,
it's that none of us has
a un
gotten
hermano
very
o algo?
far.
¿Otro diario?
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today.
Oh, duraznos
always
en
expected to
lata,
be dead
guacho. Qué
tomorrow.
rico.
But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
Comía siempre lo mismo. Estás jodiendo, boludo.
Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years.
Ya no
I'm
tengo
done
comida.
waiting. I have to leave while I still can.
Pero no entiendo, ¿qué estaba esperando acá abajo? Nah, bueno, pero la casa tenía un
it's out
montón de
there,
lugares secretos,
somewhere.
chabón. A ver...
Whatever killed Barbara
Ok.
and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week.
Que tenía una enfermedad terminal, chabón.
I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Se suicidó, boludo.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
A la mierda, boludo.
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to
Amigo.
bury something that's still alive.
Vamos a ir por el mismo lugar. No veo una
Now that
chota.
there's only one of us
Ok, acá
left,
estamos en las vías.
or maybe 2.
Ay, por favor, que no
I
tenga el
thought it
mismo
was
final
time I heard
que
the
el
stories
tío,
for
boludo.
myself. And found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
¿Y ahora? Acá. Otro camino, bien, bien, bien.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. and the history you're a part of.
Ah, no tengo que ir al agua. Fue, yo pensé que ya me iba a suicidar o algo.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now.
Sí, realmente muy confuso. No sé si
I
te vas a
think
suicidar o
people
qué.
in these stories believed them, for what that's worth. And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
De vuelta a la casa. Épico. Bueno, por acá parece que no es. Ah, por el caminito. A
I
ver.
think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Mal, ¿no? ¿Quién hace un cementerio en
It's
tu
embarrassing for
propia
me to
casa,
admit
boludo?
this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the
No.
gerbils are mine, and 2 have
Dorpi,
been my fault.
Vorpi, Chorpi, Forpi, Lorpi, Sorpi, wow, amigo.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Bárbara Finch, Walter, toda la familia, amigo.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
No, mira. La vieja casa. ¿Y ahora? Bueno, ¿soy el único traumado con que se va a suicidar la flaca o...? A ver, por acá, ¿qué onda? Ok, ya estamos volviendo.
But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
Casa del árbol. Ojo, a ver.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Bien. Bueno, ahora tenemos que ir por ahí.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Fua. Tremendo que era cazador el abuelo. Sí, se ve que sí. El abuelito era cazador. Ah, mirá, todo un fachero el abuelo. What the fuck, ¿qué hacía el abuelo? Sacando fotos durmiendo, guacho.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What? It's too early, Dad.
Era re heavy.
Okay.
Perfect.
Ah, tenía que sacar una foto.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are.
Todo, mira. Soy fotógrafo profesional, boludo.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Hold still on.
Hey!
¿Qué carajo?
Nothing quite like being outside. I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Man, está muy piola el jueguito este.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years.
Dad!
Good eye, Dawn.
No.
Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of it.
Dad, I...
Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything.
No.
Great shot, Dawn!
No.
I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
¿Por qué me hiciste hacer eso, papá?
Sorry, Dawn, just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
What the... What the fuck, seguía vivo. Seguía vivo y lo mató. Y justo tiene la foto de su muerte.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Wow. A ver esto. Otro cuarto secreto, chabón. Pero si la casa esta estaba llena de secretos.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
estoy en la pieza de Gregory. Creo que era el bebé de la casa. I don't know. A ver, a ver. ¿Qué le pasó a Gregory?
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the
No.
rest of us don't.
Soy un bebé. No, amigo, esto es épico. Soy un bebé, chabón. No.
Time's over, Gregory. It's time to.
Oh,
Hold on, sweetie.
qué linda que está mi mami, guacho. Mira,
Hello?
amigo, pero qué piola por ser un bebé. Yeah.
I wonder what he saw. What is wrong?
No, está épico.
He reminded me so much of Captain. His imagination. Whatever it was, he saw.
Está épico, amigo. Yeah. Oh, me quedé trabado. Ya está.
It sure made him happy.
Oh. No, épico. Pero ¿y ahora? ¿O tengo que esperar a que venga mi mami a sacarme del agua, guacho?
I know how silly it
Ahí
sounds.
está.
That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could.
Ah.
Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us
Jódeme que me muero.
about the world he saw.
No seas malo.
There's so
No,
much I
no,
don't
no.
understand about Gregory. About everything. But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy.
Literalmente
I want you.
está diciendo que
Good luck.
se
Kate.
murió ahogado.
Love, Sam.
Amigo, qué feo. Se divorciaron porque no cuidó al bebé. Porque por su culpa se murió el bebé, por eso se divorciaron. Mira, Dawn, Gus.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
What the fuck.
At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
No, mira.
I
Che,
can't imagine
vivía.
what it was like for her to lose 2 sons after she'd already lost. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Juá. A verga. Flashé que era un escudito de River eso, boludo. No sé por qué carajo pensé que iba a haber algo de River
my
acá.
mom ever writing poetry and yet
Gus.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
No, está re piola. ¿Hace cuánto no monto un barrilete, guacho? Está re cheto.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that I
now
remember.
pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Ok. O sea, como se separaba de la madre, dijo que hacía falta una madrastra.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
¿Qué carajo? ¿Por qué?
The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
Nah, un pelotudo el papá, o sea, había alta tormenta y el chabón quería seguir festejando, boludo. Ok, ¿y qué pasó con Gus? ¿Qué pasa ahora? No jodas. No. Fue que murió aplastado.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone. Just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
A la mierda.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Está sellada con espuma la puerta. ¿Qué carajo? A ver qué onda por acá. Si es que hay que volver. Creo que hay que volver. No estoy seguro.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
¿Fue esto? ¿Qué carajo es?
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
Boludo, o sea, el papá los tenía encerrados en su casa, los hijos, o sea, toda la familia, les enseñaba acá y todo para que no les pasara nada, pero se terminaban muriendo todos, básicamente.
Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Ok, le hizo un castillo en la casa, amigo.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Wow. Fue hasta repiola el coso este, boludo. Milton, 1992. A ver.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Nah, épico. Esto está buenardo, amigo. Fua. Boludo, está épico este jueguito.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time
Otra
in his
puerta
room.
cerrada.
Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
¿Y este cuarto de quién es?
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar.
Era re...
That part of him lived on.
Le gustaba la marihuana al nene. Por acá no hay más nada. Tengo que volver... No. Ah, para. Oh, acá está.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse.
Amigo.
Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Verga.
He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it.
Amigo, mientras me muevo con el chaboncito, tengo que cortar cabeza de pescados. Me huea toda la mente.
Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads.
Okay.
And things that have not names.
Monstruos.
He knew it was all in his head.
El chabón se drogaba y encima estaba loquito. O sea, picardo.
But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more.
Ojo, ¿qué encontró?
I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
Okay.
Like a whole new Lewis.
Bueno, supuestamente parecía que ya estaba bien, pero al parecer no.
I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
Me encontré un pedito.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
Uy, ¿cómo hago para...? Oh, ahí está.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
Vale. Amigo, no me puedo concentrar en las dos cosas, déjame.
And songs for them to play.
No me tiene más pescado, la puta madre, boludo.
He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger.
O sea, el chabón estaba loquito, básicamente.
He no longer spoke at the cannery.
Porque mientras trabajaba, el chabón se
His
imaginaba
chopping
todo
was
esto.
as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor.
Elecciones de alcalde.
And he won.
¿Qué carajo?
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on.
Estaba muy piola este jueguito.
Hugh Lewis.
Literal es full interactivo, amigo. Hasta en las historias.
St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the canal.
Que jugaba al Monopoly, el chabón que
Even
conquistaba
as his
lugares.
mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on.
O sea, mientras la mamá le hablaba, el chabón estaba en su mundo. Tipo, no quería saber nada. No es que no quería saber nada, sino que no.
He heard rumors
Estaba ahí. Estaba ahí, pero no estaba.
Handsome Queen. The Queen was on her own quest for
Bueno, ya fue.
sinister serpents.
Algo bueno y algo malo. No todo puede ser bueno. Estaba mal,
He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Sigo cortando pescado, en serio, amigo.
He knew the world was all in his imagination.
¿Por qué me hacen esto? No quiero trabajar, guacho. De verdad que ya me gustaría dejar de cortar pescado,
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
What the fuck, amigo. El chabón tenía cualquier cosa en la cabeza.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace.
No, el chabón tenía...
My imagination is as real as my
o sea,
body.
disociaba de la realidad.
It was hard to argue with him.
O sea, para él era un príncipe, un rey. Era más poderoso que un rey, pero la realidad era que era un cortapescados.
He began to forget the world we know.
Fua. ¿Y qué pasó? ¿Se metió a la picadora de
I think
pescados?
it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
No me jodas.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
Amigo, estaba re loco el chabón.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do.
A ver, ¿qué tengo que hacer?
Bend down his head.
No, boludo. Se puso la cabeza en el cortador de pescado. Puso la cabeza en el cortador de pescado.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
No, amigo, se suicidó.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
¿Qué carajo, boludo? O sea, el chabón pensaba que era un rey y que la cortadora esa de pescado era la coronación. Qué turbio, boludo. A ver.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing.
Ok, ese fue el
She
momento que
waited
se
until
fueron.
the day before we left to tell Edie.
Mierda.
I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
No guardó nada, o sea, se dejó todo.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
Se suicidó la madre. Apuesto.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final
Amigo, el
nights."
último día.
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
La abuela no se quería ir.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Cuartito secreto de la biblioteca. Nada, bueno.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories.
A la
I think
mierda.
it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
No, la metió a un asilo. La metió a un asilo, en serio.
There's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
Tengo miedo. O sea, literalmente, para mí...
Never thought I'd go back to it.
Para mí vamos a ir hasta la casa y va a volver toda la marea.
I got turned around. For a while, I wondered. I started seeing things.
No, mira. El ciervo que mató al papá.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Volvió a la casa.
Things I can't
destruida.
explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it.
Okay.
A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly.
Se murió la mamá.
She got better for a while, and then She didn't.
No.
And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you.
Ojo.
I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is.
Amigo, ¿qué es esto?
This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself.
Un hermanito.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way.
¿Un hermanito o tiene un hijo?
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
No, amigo. La protagonista se murió y el hijo... Wow. Simplemente qué carajo, amigo. ¿Qué carajo al final, chabón? ¿O no es el final? Si este no es el final... Sí, es el final. Amigo, what the... Te lleva por toda la historia familiar de la protagonista para después contarte que la protagonista se murió y tuvo un hijo y estamos reconstruyendo en realidad la historia a partir de un libro, de un cuaderno que le dejó con toda la historia familiar al hijo. Es épico. Epicardo. Bueno, gente, si les gustó este gameplay y quieren que haga más, recomiéndenme jueguitos acá abajo en los comentarios. Compartan, suscríbanse si son nuevos en el canal y les gusta este tipo de jueguitos que están muy piola. Y bueno, te invito a ver mis otros videos que los voy a dejar por acá o capaz por algún lado en la pantalla. Bueno, la verdad que me gustó volver después de tanto y bueno, nada, ya se vienen muchos videitos. De verdad que quiero hacer un montón de videos. Y bueno, nada, si querés seguirme en mis redes sociales que están acá abajo en la descripción. O bueno, te lo dejo acá, también por acá. Y bueno, nos vemos en el próximo video o en el próximo directito que nada, hago por Twitch, que también está el link acá abajo. Así que nada, gente, cuídense. Y bueno, nos vemos en el próximo video.